We're going to try to do a disc brake conversion on this old truck. Some of you watching this might think that's heresy for an old 53 Ford, but this is still a regular working truck for me, and when I take it out on the road, people don't drive nice around you. So even though with this one it still is equipped with its original 1953 front brake setup, which is all drums all the way around, it doesn't have automatic adjusters, and even when I do have the brakes adjusted great, if somebody tries to cut me off, I get like one good stop, then brake fade just kind of kicks in, and it just gets a little harder to stop something as heavy as this. So for safety reasons, disc brakes are a good choice. Another thing too, if you think about it, disc brakes have been around for a while. They've been on cars since the 30s. So given the fact that it's not a big deal to make the conversion, let's go ahead and make the change. Yummy. All right, so now that we got the hub off, now we've got to get the backing plate off here. So we've got to take this whole thing off as a unit. So try not to get grease on myself in the process. Oh, I gotta love the way that grease smells. Extension. Side here. There is nasty. Oops, did I just knock that out? That doesn't work. That's tightened. That's loosened. Thankfully, this vehicle's been always in the south, so rust on key components isn't much of a problem. Knocked out of. Oops, right. Straighten this up so I can pull it all straight up. All right, let's got that. First thing we're gonna do, we're gonna hang that guy from here, rather than disconnecting the brake line and having it drip brake fluid all over the place. Bolts out one at a time. Come out. That's okay. Come on. We'll turn it a little bit. This bottom bolt is not cooperating. not ideal right now. Oh, yeah, don't fall down on me. Just right now, let's do that. Get a better perch. All right, that's that. Keep that out of the way. Okay. Well, there we go. Now, I will show you right now how gross. Let me show you how gross this spindle arrangement is right now. It is goopy. And so now that we've got that brake assembly off, we're gonna clean this up because that is not gonna work. And so we'll be doing that next. But I'll probably be doing that off camera. There's no point watching me clean. All right. All right, that's getting there. All right. Gonna go at cleaning everything up. It's not 100% perfect, but it's better than it was. Got most of the grease off. And we are now in a position where we can try fitting on some pieces. Now, a little bit of a problem here. Oops. A little bit of a problem here with this grease fitting. The bracket that needs to go on needs to, or wants to occupy that same spot. And I have a couple of choices. One is to remove the grease fitting altogether, but then I can't lubricate this, which isn't too good. The other option is to take the bracket, which is pretty beefy. So here's our bracket. And whoops, got upside down. The other option is to take the bracket, which goes to those two holes there, and take a little chunk out of it on that edge. And that will give me a little bit of clearance for the grease fitting, and hopefully won't compromise the integrity of the bracket itself. I'm tempted to go that route. If I had to, I could always order a replacement bracket, but replacing or removing this grease fitting and putting it at a different spot is going to be a lot more trouble. But for the moment, I think what I'll do is I need to dry fit this thing, just make sure it all fits in place and fits flush. So, okay, what we're going to do first is we're going to go ahead and just take off this grease fitting. Now what we want to do is verify that the bracket sits flush. We don't have a problem, but I think the parts here are in good enough shape that shouldn't pose a problem.
looks like we're in there pretty solid. Again, the big problem is, of course, that grease fitting, which we don't have the same problem on the other side. We only have it on this side because the grease fittings are on the back. On this side, I guess they use the same part on both sides, and it just happened to be on the front on the other side. So anyway, so it looks like we all fit, but we're gonna have to do some rejiggering on this, but slowly getting there. And as soon as this can go on, one of the things we're gonna do, actually, we're going to grease up the points here and here. There are two grease fittings on there, and there's a grease fitting up underneath there. We'll grease this thing all up before we put all this stuff on, but getting closer. The other thing you actually will find is when it comes time to put this on permanently, we'll be putting on some thread locker on these bolts, and then we have to tighten them down to 90 foot-pounds. Now let's go take a look and see if this fits. Closer, but still got a little ways to go. Slowly getting there, but it's going to take some time. So I'm going to have to go charge the battery on that and come back in a bit. Not that this matters too much. It blends in fairly well. All right, so with that all done, go ahead and little dab of Loctite. Except not on me. All right, so now we need to torque this down to 90 foot-pounds. Pushing up is hard. Lost my cap on Loctite. Okay. So here's our rotor. Clean up the area where the bearings go in. All right, and we need to grease up our bearings. Put that dude. This one. We can use the excess inside. Seal in place. Okay. So, I have a tool of persuasion. Street. It's bigger than me. Maybe better. Right. Okay, I'm gonna repeat from here. Really front. So, little dude. All right. Okay, we got a nice squirty mess underneath there. We can sort of clean the brake rotor later. Our excess. Be nice and goopy on the inside. A little bit more of that in a minute. That spindle, one more cleaning. A little spacer we got to put on. I'm going to clean it too. It's pushed up there nice and tight. Now, we've got the spindle. And thankfully, we've got more excess grease. So we just goober this stuff on here. And pray to the car gods that there's enough gooberiness. Last thing I want to do is have to tear this bearing apart in 6 months or less. Worse, right after the first drive. All right, now I'm ready to put our brake rotor on. Oh, these things are heavy. Come on, baby. Thread the needle. There we go. There, it's got that. Okay. So we got the rotor on. Now we got a spacer. And so this is supposed to go on first. And this is supposed to go on second. There we go. All right. And then last thing we have is the castellated nut at the top, which I gotta use the original one to hold all of this together. Okay. So slap, oops. Debris there. We'll clean up the little bit. Okay. A little too loose. Where's the hole? That might be it. All right, and then we need to bend our copper pin. Maybe we can find rubber band. Anything I can use to seat that down better. Not making a mess of it. Oh, great. This is going to make a mess. Got that off. Put as far down as she is going to go. That's got that on there. Time now to unbox the caliper. Bumper sticker. So we got that all taken care of now. Bolts. All right. So the recommendation is that we put on bolts like so, and then put on 2 spacers. Each spacer is 30 thousandths. So there's that. So now we need to go put this over there. Now we're taking all this other stuff off. All right, trick here is to thread these bolts onto the bracket up in here. Sorry to block your view, but hey, when that happens. There's a little bit of a dance. Thing we want to do is cross thread. I'm going to snug the caliper down, and then we're going to check to see if we're centered on the brake. All right, 899. So that's close enough. 30,000. Yeah, I'm not going to be able to put a shim in there to fix that. Really? There we go. And can we do this without dropping the shims? One, two. All right, get an idea how much thread I can show. I'm going to put the thread locker on this side. So since gravity's going to be working against me, crap. Making a mess. I'm going to be wiping up thread locker in a minute. That'll go on. Always use your fingers to make sure you're not cross-threading. It feels good. Hit. Find the nut. There we go. I'm gonna bump into stuff. Oh, oh. You know, I have to do it this way. I always hate pushing up. No, up. I feel like I'm not doing that right. I'm gonna turn. Apologize for this, but it's easier for me this way. So I can see what I'm doing. Alright, that's that one. Can't get to the other one this way though. Crap. Some will have to be done the hard way. Oh, this would be great because I get to now take off a chunk of my hand. Ow, there's my thumb. All right. Well, that's 50. Now let's actually 55. Let's add another 5 foot-pounds to tidy it off. All right, here we go. All right, that's that one. And that's that one. All right, so caliper's down for 60 foot-pounds. So next thing we got to do is put our pads in. So insert pads, and always make sure you put the pad surface side towards the rotor. Because you want to do metal on metal, which isn't what you want. All right, next, put the little tube in here. Put the little nut back there. And of course, the tools I need are on the other side. So what we want to do is we want to tighten this up enough because she doesn't put the right size new. Tighten this up enough to keep it in place, but not so tight that it distorts the top of the assembly. Almost there. Okay, that's got it. All right, so brake pads are in place. She turns without binding or rubbing. Next thing we need to do is brake lines. All right, I went ahead and took the liberty to remove the drum brakes, disconnect them from the fitting up here, and we're ready to right now actually try to hook up our new flex line. So first thing I need to do, there's a little protective tab, which you're not gonna be able to see very well. It's right here, a little sticker, covering up where this fitting goes. And what I need to do is apply a little bit of tape. Seal that guy up. I'll rip off a little bit of the excess. I definitely do not want the Teflon tape to block the opening. Always good to make sure you're not cross-threading. Seems to be the case at the moment. mess out of that fitting. So the last thing you want is a leak coming from here. Right angle. Should hopefully be good enough. It's in there pretty tight. If I tighten it too much, I'm afraid I'm going to damage it. So. Okay. So what we're going to do is we're going to get this guy up here and apply anti-seize to the threads here, anti-seize to the threads here, so that if we ever do have to take these things off in the future, we're not having to fight seized up lines. And at some point in the future, there will be a need to replace. Don't go too crazy. A little goes a long way, and I'm definitely trying not to get anti-seize inside the fitting. It's just supposed to be on threads. Okay. I don't know if anybody has a preference between the silver versus the copper. I'm using copper in this case. There are folks who have a preference. I've used both. Both seem to work. Now the big question is, how do we want to route this thing? Obviously we're going to have to make sure that we don't bind. And that we don't catch on anything when we're steering. So let's just do a quick test. Rubbing up on anything. Okay, that looks like its natural desired position. What did I do with my wrench? Is it a half? It appears to be a half. Okay. Over to it. This is held in with a clip on the back side, which is the reason you see it turn. It's interesting. That end is not an inch. It's 16th. Appear to be binding. Just a tad. That's okay. All right. Okay, flex line installed. Now the next step in this process is we gotta bleed the brakes. All right, at this point, see, got wheels back on. Okay, kind of important, can't run without that. We've got stop juice run through the system. Got all the air out, at least I hope. We'll figure that out, I guess. And I guess we're ready to do some pre-bedding checks. What I'm going to do is get this thing started up, take it out a little bit in the neighborhood, roll it around, apply the brakes lightly, and bring it back in here and make sure we got no leaks. And yeah. This won't bounce around too much. All right, so guess we're ready to give this thing a start. So let's choke open, high idle switch on. We got fuel pump. Looks like we need to get some gas. Listen carefully for the pump. Oh, pump's done its thing. We got a couple of squirts into the carb. Another couple of squirts in the carb. Starter button. Push. That. Not on the first try. It's been about a month since this thing's been started, so. That's okay. It's kind of a cold day. All right, well, I guess we're ready to kind of give things a little bit of an initial test. Let's move that over a little bit. Let's go back a little bit more. Okay. Well, she stops, sort of. It's slow speeds. All right, let's see what we got. No power steering. A little bit of a workout. Presses on the brake. a different view. I think, maybe. We can see out. Hopefully that won't fall off. All right. Okay, here we go. Okay, after taking the truck out for a little bit of a spin, she stops straight as an arrow, and drove it for about 30 miles, various speeds. And what we got to do now is we got to take the wheels off again and check to see if the brakes are wearing in like they're supposed to. Make sure no odd marks on the rotors, no leaks. And if that all looks good, we'll put the wheels back on, torque them to spec. Well, torque to spec now, but we will put the wheels back on and we'll call her done. So let's see.